the one, let's say, who's providing services, I don't think I'd really concern myself with overlay, but where it doesn't have a name of who is providing that service, we really need to take a look at those IEPs, so send that list out to your school sites, have them identify if they know who's providing the services. If not, have them call an IEP so that you can review at this point in time, based on the student's needs, is there a need for counseling? If there is, let's make a referral to get counseling in place. If there is not, let's remove it from the IEP. Some parents have opted to stay with DBH. If they have Medi-Cal, they may be getting other services from DBH. So they may be getting services in the home or therapeutic behavior services, wraparound, these kinds of things. And so they may not want to take the school's offer of services. If so, you need to clearly document that you've offered those services, that they are available, and if the parent changes their mind, however, at this point the parent is declining the services, and then the IEP team really needs to make a decision whether or not those services the student is getting outside the school system are meeting their needs. Because if they're not, then you're going to have to talk to Amy. So, but in many cases they may be something that, they're able to actually get more comprehensive services. Their problems may not just be school related, they may be family related issues, and those other services that they're getting really meet their needs. I've kind of gone through the referral process. It really hasn't changed significantly. We did update our referral manual to take out the AV referral forms and such, and made some slight revisions to the referral form for SELPA counseling. We did go ahead and tighten up our procedures too, so if the referral's been accepted, you're going to be getting a notice saying, we got your referral, it's been accepted. If it's incomplete, you'll get a notice saying it's incomplete. You then have 1 week, if it's incomplete, to get that information back to us. And there's a little form letter that you'll get that indicates what needs to be added. Then we'll go ahead, if the referral is complete, we are going to send out an IEP assessment form plan to the parent. And if we do not get a response in 15 days, we will notify the case manager, and it's important that the case manager is identified on the referral form, that the parent didn't respond to that, but we'll go ahead and send out a second notice. If at the end of the second notice, we will send you notification that we've tried twice to get the assessment plan signed by the parent, they haven't complied, and then it's going to be back with the district to either hold a meeting to get the parent to sign the assessment plan. You can invite the counselor, because right off the bat, when you get your notice saying the referral's been accepted, you'll know who your counselor is. So I know that in the past, because there were 2 possible routes for assessments to go, in the past the counselors sometimes sent letters back saying they were not the appropriate source and they declined the referral. That will not happen any longer. Every student will be assessed. So that was one of the things I think we heard from all of you that you wanted, and I know that's going to increase some of the requirements for assessment on the counselors, but I think it makes for a cleaner procedure, and also since they are the only source for services, you can't defer to DBH any longer. And so then we'll just go ahead with the usual timeline as is related there. There is some information on determining the need for educationally related mental health services. The new term that is being used are educationally related mental health services. Because DBH was a Medi-Cal system and oftentimes encouraged clients to apply via Medi-Cal, good funding basis for them. They didn't necessarily look at what was educationally driven, and so here we're going to look at what's educationally driven, as well as, you know, is the student amenable to intervention, and if so, who is the most appropriate individual, or what type of intervention is most appropriate for that student. And then kind of the part where kind of like some input from you guys is to really kind of let's think about what the system could look like. So I'm going to ask you to maybe go through a little exercise, and first off, you know, think about a time when you had an experience with mental health services, whether they were through the SELPA services, through DDH, whatever whatever supported your student, and think about when it was successful. And just kind of turn to your neighbor and just briefly talk about that for a couple minutes, and we'll kind of report out some of the highlights of that. You know, we need to know, and I need to work with Michelle so that we can get that information out and say what
Complain they haven't put in an oil.
Okay, finish it up.
You guys
I didn't figure out the wrong.
Let you go on.
I missed the part at the beginning where she talked about self-assessment.
So what were some of the things that worked? Amy?
Things I find work very well in the past is when you really know who the counselor is and they become truly part of that IEP school team. Then you're looking at the whole child of everybody. So, and regardless of what the services were, whether they were group, individual, outreach, we were looking at residential, no matter what, it was that partnership that made it work for everyone. They made it smooth and positive.
Somebody else?
The service provided at the school, that was huge.
There's a very positive relationship between the students and the counselor when they came. The kids couldn't wait until they got there. Kids are always happy to go. You know, sometimes kids don't want to leave class for something, but all of us know to go.
Anything else?
I can just say that the WESELPA counselors, honestly, they're the nicest people in the whole world. It's not something you can charge, but really, you know, your experience with DPH, the personalities, you're not even, you're not really sure. But really, I think that Dave and his team have always picked people that are very student-centered, that are engaging personalities, work as teams. I just can't tell you the
How to
quality.
give great guidance to Dave to get him to that point.
No, I think he looks at that, so I think his success is having a really quality people.
I think another thing I've seen in the past from all agencies, because I've actually tried working with a few different ones in my career, was the agency, whether it be mental health, DDH, WESELPA counseling, is having people who have some form of a continuum. They're matching services to kids. It's not one size fit all. When they come in and it's like we offer X and Y, it doesn't always work. But when people say it, when you come in and they have some flexibility and some kind of form of continuum, it works better for the kids and families and school.
Now, the next thing I'm going to ask is, if you could think of the ideal, we're really in a position right now to reinvent all of this. What would it look like? What would be different? And if you want to chat with each other, does that work better? Can you elaborate a little bit in that? Is it more staff, more services, more?
We've never had a student turn down. I would just know that the number of students we have with these needs, I can only assume we need more people. I think that's all. I think options for students, because not everybody needs individual. Some students need a specific group for a short period of time. Some students need longer period of time.
Switch the letter around.
And, a stepping stone from where you go when students are having difficulty, being able to have more intensive as needed, and having that continuum. I really like the tier system I see.